Patch 3.24 is bringing some big changes to Atlas strategies, and I'm really excited by what this means for the future. Hi, it's Larold, and I'm going to talk about some of these huge changes to the Atlas, go over the new path for getting your map sustained online at League start, and break down which League mechanics got buffed and which got nerfed. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, I just ate a bunch of pizza, I'm drinking a Baja Blast, and I'm in a great mood. Let's get into this. So what's gone? The most important things that have been removed are some of the keystone passives, the really important ones, like Wandering Path, it's not here anymore. Grand Design and Growing Hordes, they're gone, they've been replaced. Seventh Gate is also gone. But actually, it's just been made baseline. I counted it up, unless I miscounted while I was really tired. There are 17 different map device options in the coming league, which is more than normal. It's basically everything that you could possibly want to be there. So they just made that baseline and kind of rebalanced it some. Pretty good. Sextants are gone completely. Map duplication small passives in the middle of the tree are gone. They've been replaced with increased scarabs found in your maps. That's what exists all the way through that middle section of the tree for all the small passives now. And, you know, it's fine. Everything that worked with sextants now works with scarabs instead. They've expanded the scarab system. It has way better quality of life for trading. It is a substantial quality of life buff for players. It's easier to farm scarabs than it was to sit and roll sextants. The game just got better in a massive way, is what I'm saying here. Now let's talk about what has been nerfed. Essences are the main thing that has been absolutely poleaxed. Now, two of the notables for essences are the same, Crystal Lettuce and Prolific Essence. Those are the same as before, but Crystal Resonance has been completely redesigned. It makes it so that a map boss is granted a random essence modifier from any imprisoned monsters slain in your maps. So the way that this works basically is it means that you would want to do the exact opposite of the way that I've always done this, where you either skip the map boss or boss rush, or do something where you're not killing the map boss as the final thing in the maps. That is how you'll want to do it now. And also, using Remnants of Corruption on imprisoned monsters in your maps replaces all essences with one of the essences on the imprisoned monster. Now, the way that this reads, maybe it would affect the tiers too, like if you have a Screaming Essence of Woe and Wailing Essence of Dread, or not Dread, Wailing Essence of Contempt, and you tap it with a Remnant of Corruption, maybe it'll turn all of the everything that's on it into that Wailing Essence of Contempt, but I think it'll probably keep the same tier. It'll just convert them to the same type. With that being said, it does sound like it will convert all of the essences to one of the same type. So if you've got something low value like Dread and something high value like Contempt or whatever, and you tap it with a Remnant of Corruption, there's a shot it all goes to the high value one like Contempt, and it could also go to the low value one like Dread. A lot of RNG there. The thing that you'll see here, though, is there's no more duplicating of essence mobs that are shrieking that you hit with, or that you open up. And there's also no indication here that Remnants of Corruption won't just insta-break essence monsters out of their essence monolith. Now, maybe that's just being made into baseline functionality. Maybe that's being converted into something that's on a scarab. We don't know. Amplified Energies has also been nerfed. Instead of just giving all of the essences on the monsters in your maps +1 to their current tier, it now makes all of the imprisoned monsters in your map have at least one essence at the highest possible tier. This is absolutely a nerf, and quite a big one, because there is then, in that tooltip, essences in white maps can reach a maximum tier of Screaming, and essences in yellow or red maps can reach a maximum tier of Shrieking. This sucks. This basically kills white map essence farming. I guess you can do it as an absolute, like, bottom of the barrel strategy, but really, it means you need to farm essences in T6 maps. The problem here is that there is still, like, no reason to roll quantity or map tier or any sort of mods onto essences. It doesn't seem like there's anything that makes them scale in any way, so you just have to, instead of doing tier 1 maps, you now do tier 6 maps with essences, and that's kind of rough. Abyss has also sort of been nerfed. It has had the plus projectiles spawning extra mobs out of the Stygian Spires removed. That's not really a thing on the tree, though. It's just like that mechanic has been killed, and it's dead. Good, die. As for the rest, Abyss really just hasn't been touched, and that, with everything else being buffed, is good enough to count as a nerf for me. Notables that granted +2% chance for extra content to spawn, like, okay, straight and narrow, prevent getting heist stuff, but then 2% for other content, that was something you could use. It wasn't good, but you could use it to increase the chance of getting essences and abyss, or essences and ambush and domination shrines, and just things that weren't like blockable with these blocker nodes. They have been rewritten to only grant extra content that is available through the blocker nodes. So they won't affect essence, they won't affect harbinger, that sort of thing. These weren't very good before the nerf. 2% chance to add other content given the point cost is not worth it. Like, the right approach is to just, if you're not spec'd into, I don't know, ultimatum, and you see an ultimatum in your maps, don't do the ultimatum. That's the right approach. Just exhibit some self-control. It's hard. I like these blocker nodes conceptually. I wish that they were tuned up to be like 4% or 5%. That would have made me happy. If they had done that and then also added this, I think it would be good, but they didn't. They were bad before the nerf, and then they got nerfed for some reason. It's very funny, but it's not good. There are some new keystones here. Unwavering Vision is weird. I'm not sure that it'll be good, but it's interesting. It makes it so that you can't use Scarabs on your maps. You can't find Scarabs in your maps, but you gain 20 Atlas passive skill points. So you can like invest in more stuff. You can have more of like a zero cost farming strategy. The only thing that you have to put in is a map. So that's good. It seems like it's good for Alch Go, but for reasons that we'll talk about a little bit more, I don't actually think it will be the strategy for Alch Go because it's kind of weird, but I could see people playing around with this and making it work. Thorough exploration is basically just like a thing that is kind of the opposite of boss rushing. Weirdly, it has like very terrifying synergy with Crystal Resonance, where you're throwing all of these essence modifiers onto a boss by clearing all the essences in a map. I mean, the way that I read Crystal Resonance is that by throwing those essence mods onto the boss, you're also getting the boss to drop essences. You're not just buffing the boss. Otherwise, you would just boss rush. I don't know why that would be there. So, right. So you're getting that. And then like Thorough Exploration also would reward the same behavior, where the final boss in a map is empowered by Wildwood Wisps if there are fewer than 50 monsters remaining. So the same basic approach, the exact opposite of boss rush. Boss slow. You're killing everything in the map. You're making the boss strong, more powerful, more difficult, but also more rewarding. So maybe there's some value there. I don't really think it seems all that great though. But there's not really like a horrible downside. The only real downside here is that like you have to clear out the maps and the boss hits you hard. I think I could live with that downside. Also here among new keystones is Back to Basics, and this one just got a big old no thanks for me. Your maps have a increased chance of having more modifier effect, but it's random, anywhere from 0 to 80%. That could be good if you were able to like combine it with things that you would want to scale up, delirium, stuff that would affect your quantity, but it also makes it so that extra content can't appear in your maps, and you can't influence your maps. You can't put Exarch or Eater on your maps, you can't have delirium on your maps, you can't have any league mechanics, so you're just running like very empty, weird maps. And yeah, they have more mod effect, but I don't really see the point of that. I can't think of a build that would use that. I'm sure someone is creative enough to make a strategy that would make this work, but that person isn't me. All right, let's talk about the biggest changes. Master missions are gone, and they now have a way higher chance to spawn in your maps now. Like, just to show off with Alva, the Alva nodes here that used to be like a little bit of modifier to her, then 4% chance to have Alva in your maps. Now these are 10% nodes, and this is 20. So now instead of 4% chance to get an Alva mission, you now have 40% chance to have Alva. Basically, every single node in the entire Atlas passive tree that granted a chance for content to spawn has been massively buffed. You can guarantee pretty much any content that spawns like at 100% of the time now with enough investment. 100% chance for Deli Mirror, Beyond, Expedition, Harvest, and masters like Jun, Alva, Einhar, and so on. This is really cool, but it has some weird knock-on effects, and I'm going to kind of show that off here by coming over to one of the like worst nodes in the tree even before this set of changes, Spores on the Wind. Maps found in your maps have a 3% chance to have an area contains a Blight encounter enchantment modifier. Okay, this is like not a good node, but a lot of things that can exist that increase your chance to have content, and you know, this is kind of a prime example, get totally invalidated if you take all of the nodes for Blight and you give yourself a 100% chance to have Blight in your maps, which is a good thing, But then like, okay, Mycelial Swarm, it gives you the Blight map crafting option and you can use it and it costs less. But if you just fully invest in a Blight, you have a 100% chance for Blight to be in your maps. It's like the worst version of the thing that you get for, I guess, more of an investment cost, maybe, but I don't know. It's just a very strange sort of decision where it feels like the kind of thing that they will iterate upon going forward. And I understand they're on a time crunch, but it's a bit of an interesting conundrum here because, for one, taking all the nodes for a given type of content will usually put your spawn chance over 100%. Like, I have 100% increased chance, or I should say plus 100% chance to contain a Blight encounter. Well, unfortunately, you can't have two, and the baseline is 8%, so I have a 108% chance to have a Blight encounter. This is fine, it's not bad, it gives you more freedom to wiggle around some points elsewhere, but it feels a bit weird. This is a really huge buff for one-off league mechanics, things that only show up one time in a league, like Harvest, like Expedition. This is really good. It is not as big of a deal for mechanics that can occur multiple times, like Abyss, Ambush, and Torment. Legion and Breach are doing great, though. Legion and Breach farmers are both about to feast. The possibility, the chance that you can get them to spawn in your maps is over 100%. I clicked around with this a bit earlier, and it's like 104% chance to have a Legion or 104% chance to have a Breach in your map. So over 100%, and obviously you can juice that more with Scarabs and the map device, and I think it's obviously going to be a really good time for anybody who likes either of those league mechanics. Weirdly, Heist did not get the same massive buff to its spawn chance. If I click all the Heist nodes out in here, if I fill up the Heist wheels, right? I'm gonna look at all of this, but it is the exact same chance as it was before. It is 40% chance to get a Smuggler's Cache. All right, 40%. If we go back to 323, 40%, exact same. No changes at all, so I do think that Heist has lost quite a bit of juice as something to farm up for early league, but the thing it was at such a huge advantage before, and it's not like it lost any value, right? So I still think it's going to have a lot of people who go that route, just simply on the fact that it didn't get nerfed and it was good and easy beforehand. I think it'll still be good. Eater and Exarch wheels, this is like not a complaint of any kind. It's just like, Eater and Exarch wheels don't have the notable up at the top or the keystone up at the top, so they look sad, they look bald. That's basically it. They just look strange now to not have that keystone up top. Very, very weird looking. Okay, Shrine enjoyers, so this is like one for me. Shrine enjoyers should rejoice because, as we can see here, if you take all of the shrine nodes, they've been buffed. The small ones that increase your chance to have an extra shrine, those have been juiced, and you can now get 2 shrines per map. You have a 100% chance to contain an additional shrine, and your maps contain an additional shrine. Presumably those will stack, so plus 2 shrines to every map. Obviously not great for like directly generating more currency, but in terms of adding a bunch of buffs into your maps and making you clear faster, making you stronger, and adding a handful of packs into your maps as well. Good. I'm a big Shrine fan, so this is funny, at least. Even if it's not good, it'll be like fun and kind of goofy, and I like that. I was really curious if they had buffed Rogue Exile since they added Anarchy Scarabs, and I mean, like, why support Anarchy if they're not going to buff it, right? Why not just remove it? I don't know. It's the same as it ever was. I looked at all the nodes. They haven't changed. I don't know. Maybe the new Scarabs will change that, but at this time, it seems like they kept Anarchy in exactly like it was. Very funny. So all of the masters have gotten a new notable, and we're just going to kind of go through and look at each of those here. Einhar got this called Deadly Prey. Red beasts in your maps have a 50% chance to break free. Beasts that break free in your maps gain Bestial Rage. Don't know what that is. Defeating beasts grants Hunter's Cunning per Bestial Rage on the defeated beast. So it seems like you have a chance for beasts to break out of the net. I don't know if they can do that repeatedly. That could be very annoying. We do know what Hunter's Cunning is from this tooltip, though. Hunter's Cunning grants less damage taken from beasts, increased damage against beasts, and increased quantity and rarity of items found from slain beasts. Presumably, that's something that has like a no duration style buff and just basically buffs you for the rest of the map. You also get like some chance to contain Einhar from this wheel, so if you want to farm Einhar, you probably are going to want to take this wheel, but it does seem kind of inconvenient having to beat down the beast, capture it, and then I guess beat it down some more. maybe I'm assuming that they heal up or something and you have to kill them off again and then you get stronger for the rest of the run. It's a little janky. And also Two-Hearted Hunt. This node here makes it so that red beasts captured in your maps have a 50% chance to gain a modifier that provides a chance to not be consumed when sacrificed at the blood altar. This could be really, really good if you are farming beasts to use them yourself, basically. I think this could be really useful. Also, red beasts in your maps have an additional bestiary modifier, so they're just going to be tankier. The problem here is, of course, this replaced the Great Migration, which would give you a chance to just absolutely flood your maps with beasts. So it means less beasts overall. It does mean that beasts are probably going to be less directly rewarding. I mean, it's a 50% chance to gain a modifier that gives them a chance. Chances on top of chances is not that great for like consistently making money. But if you're farming Finimal Plague Arachnids to use them yourself on splitting items of value, and maybe you can just like get some free Finimal Plague Arachnid repeats out of that, that could be useful. I don't know. I think it is definitely a nerf on that. At least it feels like it to me. It feels like a nerf. And that was pretty much it for Einhar changes. Now let's take a look at the Alva stuff. Obviously her proc chance, her existence chance, whatever has been increased. You can guarantee her on every map. All of this stuff is still the same. And taking time dilation, as it always has, makes it so that it's really easy to hit the, you have so much more time than you need, basically, when doing Alva missions. And then they added this thing called Treasure Hunt, which gives incursions in your maps cursed treasures inside them. Don't know what they are really. They can be claimed for valuable rewards. Now, valuable rewards is kind of weaselly because valuable could be like a chaos. Fall flesh merchants have never really been all that valuable. So I would imagine that treasures, the cursed treasures, are probably not going to be that valuable either. But maybe because they also remove some time from you while you're in the incursion. So I think if you're combining that with time dilation, I think they'll offset. Usually I leave with like a minute left on the incursion when I have time dilation. If you're not running that, then I think it's going to be pretty tight. I don't know. This is very much like a gamble thing. I really, really, really don't know what it's going to be. And then Nico is by far the weirdest one. His is just called the Price of Progress. Voltaxic sulfite veins and chests found in your maps contain doomed spirits. What are they? Don't know. No explanation. They're spirits and they're doomed. Who knows? I'm going to guess that there's some sort of corpse explodey tormented spirit kind of deal, but it literally could be anything. And finally, Jun gained this secondary part of a wheel on the Test of Loyalty wheel, and this new skill is called Pillage and Plunder. It makes it so the Syndicate members obtain an additional equipment item when appearing in maps, and then they gain 20% more rarity of items basically dropped per equipment item they have. So this is gonna make it so that all of the Syndicate guys in your maps are spawning tons of the equipment items, the things that make them dangerous, things that like will make them petrify you or apply grasping vines. Lots of really, really nasty downsides come from those equipment items that they wear, and this makes it so that they apply extra items every time they appear. This seems insanely rippy. This is definitely going to kill people that aren't prepared for it. So I am kind of planning to play around with Jun, but this stuff seems like the stuff of nightmares. I probably will not be playing with this node, especially considering that 20% more rarity of items per item that they're equipped, or per equipment item that they have on, doesn't really seem that great. I think if anything, this is going to make it so that you spend a lot more time destroying equipment items instead of farming intelligence, and I don't love that. Map Juicer's also got some wheels. I kind of want to show those off. Those are mostly up on the top of the tree. They are in the maps wheel category though. I don't know why I'm on Torment. Okay, there we go. So there's this set here that just gives you increased effective modifiers for the small passives, and then 2% increased effective modifiers per map modifier. So if you're running like a 6 mod map, that would be 6 times 2 is 12. If you're running an 8 mod map, 8 times 2 is 16% map mod effect. That is a lot of map mod effect, and thus a lot of quantity and rarity for a notable with a couple of pretty good travel nodes on the way to it. Okay, let's take a look at some others here. Chiseled Perfection, 3% increased effective map mods per map quality. Map quality is usually just going to go up to 20%, so per 5% map quality, I should say. So this is usually just going to be 12% increased effective map mods. Again, that's really, really good considering that the travel nodes on the way to it are good. 3% increased effective map mods. If we go back to 323 and look at the top hat, what is it? There's 2% increased effective map mods. If we look at the 324 top hat, it's the same thing still, 2% increased effective map mods. You'll note that it does not say non-unique maps, and that means that this stuff will all apply to tier 17 maps, and that is the reason for the change. This is gonna be pretty nasty. I think it's gonna add a ton of danger, but also like a ton of quantity and rarity and pack size and just value for map juicers. And then finally we have this one over here, invasive adversaries. Your maps contain 10% more monster packs consisting of difficult and rewarding monsters. What are they? Who are they? I don't know, but I can't wait to kill and or be killed by them because that sounds pretty appealing. Rewarding monsters sounds good. 10% more monster packs also just for a map juicer is sick. Just adding so many more dudes in there to kill and get chaos or defines or div cards out of is really good. And that has some other really good synergies with effects like Beyond. Getting 10% more monsters to then also spawn Beyond portals out of sounds really, really awesome. And the fact that you can 100% guarantee Beyond, whew, oh, what a time. Now I want to move over to the league start strategy. So with Wandering Path being removed, what are you going to do to sustain maps at league start? I think you want to lean on Kirak and higher map tier drop chance. I've always praised Harbinger for dropping a lot of maps, really helping with map sustain, but that doesn't mean I want to do Harbinger right off the bat. So I think in terms of walking through the tree, I think you basically just want to zip straight toward Kirak. Now I may, because I really am interested in doing Jun, I may start out by actually going toward Jun initially just to get a ton of Juns on my maps. That is a possibility. Go toward Jun and then take Shaping the Mountains to get that chance of maps dropping a tier higher. I think that could be a pretty good approach, but either way, my goal is going to be to zip up towards Kirak's wheel here in the middle first thing. They have flipped it around. The right side are now the small nodes that grant Kirak mission chance, so we're just going to come up the right side here, and then we have Shaping the World, which gives us a 5% chance for an additional connected map from the map boss, and also 10% chance for tier 1 to 15 maps to be found one tier higher. They have changed all of these maps or all of these nodes, the Shaping the World, Shaping the Mountains, etc. They've changed all of those to only apply to tier 1 to tier 15 maps. They are explicitly not affecting anything in tier 16 maps. So once you have all 4 Void Stones, you just drop all of those nodes and that's fine, right? That's okay. So ultimately we want Commissioned Officer and Shaping the World, and then we want all of these nodes here. Now, either way, I'm going to want Overloaded Circuits and I'm going to want Shaping the Mountains, and I'm going to want those together, specifically because they have really good synergy with each other. Now, Overloaded Circuits makes it so that using a league map crafting option off of the map device will give you 3 random notable Atlas passive skills. This can be good. It's often bad. It depends on what the league mechanic is, right? If you get Expedition, it could just as easily be Hunt for Answers, giving you a chance to have an expedition. Well, you already have it. Or, just as likely be Distinguished Demolitionist or Ancient Writings, which are actually decent options. Or, it could be anything. But the point is that it has this massive downside, 100% more cost of map crafting options. So it's not great. It gives you a little bit of extra juice for a given league mechanic, but then it costs way more. This is completely offset by Shaping the Mountains, which makes the map crafting option free. And that is basically what you're doing here, is while you're just doing everything you can to get your map drops going and get your league mechanic rolling, and you're pathing up here anyway to get increased map tier drops, you might as well take Overloaded Circuits along the way and get a little bit of extra free juice out of Shaping the Mountains, just a little bit of synergy there. Once we've done that, we're going to take Shaping the Skies, and then we kind of have a choice here. And for me, I want to keep pushing the Kirak stuff. So I'm going to come over to each of these sides and take the Kirak wheels that give me 3 1% chance nodes. I don't really care that much about the scouting reports. You can take Planar Tactician and Solidarity if you want. It's just 1 extra point each, but I don't really want the scouting reports, so I don't really care about those 2 points. So for me, I'm not going to take those. I'm not going to bother. I thought about messing around with all of the small passives, the additional connected map passives, but because we don't have Wandering Path and we can't push that chance for those to be 100% drop chance, I put in this tree. It looks insane, as you can see, and the chance is 68% for one monster in each of your maps to drop an additional connected map, and then still that 5% from shaping the world off of the map boss. It's an option. I just don't really think it's all that great. I think at this point you are better off speccing into a, like, basically a master that you really like, either Jun or Alva or Einhar. I wouldn't probably bother with Nico at league start, but one of those three I would really push into emphasizing them more, and then use that to transition out of climbing up the ladder of map tiers, getting your void stones, and then transition into more of an in-game strategy. By this point, we might also have, I don't know at what point you unlock multiple map Atlas passive trees, so it might be that by getting those void stones, or maybe even before then, you get those, and then you're able to basically have one setup for just like sustaining maps and pushing them up, and then another one for whatever your kind of initial farming strategy would be. As I said, I will be farming Jun initially, so I think that my initial setup will probably look a little bit more like this. I probably will start Jun and come up here and take Shaping the Mountains first, and then come over here and take Commissioned Officer and Shaping the World and all of this stuff, and then fill out the rest. And then from there, I think what I'm going to wind up doing is just continuing to expand into Jun as hard as I can. And then I don't really know where I'm going to go from there. It's definitely something I'm going to think more about over the coming like 5-6 days. All right, so I wanted to also talk about the Necropolis passives, because Necropolis is getting wheels on the tree. It's getting 4 different passive wheels, one in each of the 4 corners of the tree, and I kind of just wanted to talk about those a little bit before we wrap up. So the bottom left wheel for Necropolis makes it so that you can control the effect of the haunted monsters. Those are like the main mechanic of the league. You have Devout Pursuit, which gives you 30% increased chance for devoted monsters. That's the sort of upside mechanic of the league mechanic, and then Haunted is the downside. So you get Imperial Race as an option. That makes it so that they are basically a tier stronger, so like a tier more dangerous, but also a tier more rewarding. So I think this just kind of adds extra juice onto it, and if you're really enjoying the league mechanic, this seems like both of these are going to be kind of a no-brainer. I don't know so much about the keystone though. It removes the control over the league mechanic, which is like good for making it fast and easy, but it also prevents Embers of the Allflame from dropping. So that's like maybe a pretty valuable drop that you can find from the league mechanic, and I don't really want to disable that. So this might wind up actually just being really bad. It does add a lot more juice though, which may synergize with some other stuff that we'll cover in a bit in the top left corner. All right, let's take a look at this bottom right corner here. It adds more Unresolved Anguish, and that is the mechanic that adds corpses for the crafting component of this league strategy. The keystone is like ridiculous but fun. It makes it so that like all the corpses with Unresolved Anguish that you find in your maps reveal a random craft when buried. It's RNG, right? Will it be good? Will it be bad? It's RNG, so probably bad, but if you play around with it enough, you might get lucky and make something really amazing. It's interesting, but it's something that I'm going to save for later on in the league. Not going to be playing around with this initially. I don't know what Gravekeeper's Boon is. I watched through the video, the announcement a couple of times, and I don't remember them ever mentioning Gravekeeper's Boon, so this is like a mystery. I assume it's just some sort of like no duration, like rest of the map type of buff, but who knows? But you know, other than that, you basically just get more corpses in this wheel. So if you're liking the crafting aspect of this mechanic, or even if you're not liking it yourself, even if you just want to farm more corpses to sell to other players, this is definitely a good wheel. And then we'll go up to the top left here, and this one really synergizes with the bottom left wheel, because what it does is it adds increased chance for haunted monsters to drop Embers of the Allflame, the mechanic that you're able to use to like swap in and out packs of enemies in a map. And then the keystone, or the notable here, makes it so that haunted pack leaders in your maps have a 50% chance to be rare, which is really good for map juicers, or I should say 50% increased chance to be rare. So it adds a lot of extra rares into your maps, which is good for juicers, and it gives you a 50% chance to spawn a tormented spirit when you collect a corpse in your maps, which synergizes with that bottom right tree, and it synergizes for any like map juicer who likes basically any sort of torment juicing, anybody who wants a Speaker of the Dead setup, which I'm a big Speaker of the Dead fan, big Ghostbuster. So, you know, I like this idea. I think it could be a pretty fun node to combine with Torment, which is a mechanic that didn't really get any love in this patch, but I like Speaker of the Dead still. Could be good. And then finally in the top right corner, it biases corpses that you harvest toward a different type, a specific type. It gives you, the initial node gives you a bit of a higher chance for haunted monsters in your maps to have unresolved anguish, to spawn a corpse. But then the rest of these, they don't increase the number of corpses you find, they just bias them towards a specific thing. So it can be useful for players who are trying to do a lot of crafts, but it could also just be just as useful for like trying to farm and trade corpses again. If crafting with this mechanic winds up being super strong, it's super, super valuable, then I think taking like this setup, taking condensed souls could be really good, because then you have that possibility of controlling, like basically getting the corpses that are used to control crafting. That could be really valuable. It could also be really valuable if the uniques are really good. Like if they're strong, you could wind up just going for royal souls, farming the unique crafting stuff. That could be really good. Decisive souls could also be really good if the meta crafting stuff. The point here is that like any of these could be good depending on how good the league mechanic is, and we just don't know yet. Okay, so now I kind of want to just go over more generally how I think this will affect league mechanics in a broad sense. Map sustain definitely seems like it's down overall in the tree. I assume it's going to be buffed baseline. Now, those are famous last words, but I do think it must be, right? 8 mod corrupted map farming is like completely dead since the sexton is removed, and just all of the map duplication small passives are gone. But like, is map sustain down? For real, I don't know. Scarabs are going to fill in a lot of the gaps that are left behind these changes. I'm curious to see what kind of bonuses the alternate cartographer Scarabs would provide. I wonder if those will bring back 8 mod corrupted map farming, or, you know, if they'll just be like something that you actually do use a fair amount of to sustain your maps throughout gameplay. I don't know, we'll see. I think early essence farming has basically been murdered by the changes to amplified energies and crystal resonance. It really does seem like that is dead at low levels. I still think it's a functional farm strat for mid-level characters, but they basically just shifted the goalposts from tier 1 maps with no mods to tier 6 maps with no mods. They aren't that hard once a character is online, but it's less rewarding than it was before. It's less challenging due to not duplicating the essences if they have a shrieking essence on them, which is weird. And it kind of backloads all of the difficulty from that mechanic into the map boss due to crystal resonance being redesigned. If it's scaled with quantity and mapped here in a meaningful way, then I think Essence would be a great mechanic for high-level farming, and I would like that. I would like if Essence made sense to do at tier 16, but it doesn't. So I don't know. I don't feel that great about it. It could be offset by Scarabs. We just don't know, but it feels like a deliberate nerf to a very simple and powerful crafting strategy. And that's okay. There are a lot of other farm strategies, crafting strategies. You know, the new league mechanic is a crafting strategy, so it might just fill in that gap left behind by essences just fine. A lot of other strategies like ambush, abyss, heist, and harbinger didn't really change at all. And this isn't a nerf, but because other things got buffed, it feels like one indirectly. Master missions are massively buffed. You can guarantee a master in every map. You can double them up and farm Einhar Alva in low tier maps. I think that is going to be a very popular early farm strategy. I think it is something that people should play. It is something I'm thinking about playing. I'm probably going to force Jun onto my maps early though, because I really want to farm Katarina for devouring diadems early. And also, you're going to get tons of Scarabs from running Betrayal. I think Betrayal is going to be very good in the next league, and it's been a while since I really played around with Betrayal, so I'm kind of excited about doing that. I kind of skipped over this so far, so I just want to show off the amount of Scarab wheels that are in the tree here too. Look at this. 200% increased chance for unique monsters to drop Scarabs. 12% increased Scarabs found in maps. Control over where you find, like what type of modifiers you find Scarabs affecting, like 100% more ambush Scarabs, 100% more reliquary Scarabs, 100% more beyond Scarabs. There's even more though. Scarabs found are more likely to be less common varieties. Final map bosses have a 25% chance to drop a Scarab. Rare monsters have a 50% increased chance to drop a Scarab per monster mod affecting them. There are so many modifiers, so many notables, and just small passives as well affecting Scarab drop chance. I mean, all of the middle nodes, all of them are increased Scarab drop chance. I think that Scarab farming is going to become the new Alch Go strategy. The amount of support for farming Scarabs is buck wild. There is so much control over what you can target farm, and I genuinely think that there is a version of this where you basically spec like a Wandering Path tree, but you're not using Wandering Path, obviously, since it doesn't exist anymore. And you just do everything you possibly can to put as many Scarabs as humanly possible into your maps. I think that is something that people will do. It seems like a really fun strategy that takes like 0 brain cells and can still print money on a shoestring budget. Even if you don't go that route, it's just something that you can kind of toss into a farm strategy that has some leftover points. Like you're doing a expedition and Jund strategy, and that's done at 118 points, so you have like 14 points left over. Why not sprinkle a few divines per hour of Scarabs on there? Yeah, why would you not? I think the big winners of this patch are people who like Harvest, Breach, and Legion. Being able to guarantee that Harvest is always on the map for 0 chaos is huge. That's true for a handful of other mechanics as well. I think Expedition is a clear one. I think Beyond is a good one too. But Harvest was always prohibitively expensive at League starts, like 12 chaos per map with the map device, and the spawn chance on it wasn't great. So this really feels like a huge buff to farming Harvest more than most other mechanics. I think Delirium Mirrors are in a similar vein, but really farming Deli Mirrors at League start is hard. So I don't know exactly how great of a strategy that will be initially. And I do think it's good quality of life for super juicers on their Magic Find builds once they're online, but you know, day 3 of a league, I don't know how good being able to guarantee deli mirrors that are turbo dangerous really is. Expedition is really fun and good. I had an entire Expedition guide that was finished and uploaded, and I'm gonna have to remake it, but that's okay. Make no mistake, it was good before and it has been buffed pretty hard. It's another option that does a better job of handing you a bunch more money than Harvest does. It's not buffed quite as hard as Harvest was, but it's better early than Harvest was before. So it didn't need buffs at all to be good, and since it has gotten them anyways, I think it's probably going to remain an S tier early farming strategy. Breach and Legion getting over 100% chance to spawn by default is really good for farming them on a budget as well. Now, because of this, I would kind of expect those to be farmed pretty heavily, but I don't know really how valuable they're going to be. Legion generates a lot of basic currency on its own, so even if Legion albums are literally worthless, it's still a good strategy. Finally, if you like master missions, if you like Jun or Einhar or Alpha, I think you're gonna be really happy coming through this league. I think they've given them so much more availability, so much more value, and ultimately, I think this is just a great league for everybody. Everybody has more control over what they want to do in their in-game strategy. They have less annoying requirements like getting sextants. Sextant rolling is completely gone from the game. The scourge of people listing items for awakened sextants is gone. So this is really great. All right, there's a lot going on here. We're definitely going to talk more about specific strategies that we think are going to be really good and sort of some sample Atlas passive trees that we want to play around with early on in the league, and a lot more to talk about in the coming week. But I think that'll cover it for now. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and thanks for watching. Bye.